The air in Miami was thick with summer heat, the kind that clung to your skin and made the palm trees shimmer. Maya Torres stepped onto Collins Avenue, her sandals clicking softly against the pavement. At 26, she carried herself with a quiet grace, curly brown hair tied high, brown eyes warm like molten amber, and a smile that could light up a room. Her beige cotton dress swayed as she walked, simple but elegant, paired with a woven tote slung over one shoulder. To anyone else, she looked like she'd wandered in from a beachside cafe, not someone headed to Elysian Spa, the crown jewel of Miami's elite. Elysian Spa was a sanctuary for the rich and famous, nestled in a sleek building with glass walls that caught the afternoon sun. Inside, marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers, and the air smelled of jasmine and sea salt. A water feature trickled softly, its surface dotted with floating petals. Maya pushed open the heavy glass door, her heart fluttering with anticipation. She'd booked the Pearl Serenity treatment months ago, a bespoke experience with Tahitian pearls and rare essential oils. It was a splurge, a quiet celebration of everything she'd built, but as she stepped inside, the eyes of the staff snapped to her like magnets. Valeria, the spa's manager, stood behind a sleek reception desk, her white silk uniform pristine, her dark hair pulled into a severe bun. Her red lips curled slightly as she sized Maya up, her gaze lingering on the cotton dress and scuffed sandals. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice honeyed but sharp, like a blade dipped in sugar. Maya smiled, unfazed, and pulled out her phone. "Hi. I'm Maya Torres. I have a 2 p.m. appointment for the Pearl Serenity treatment." She turned the screen, showing an email with Elysian's logo and her booking details. The confirmation was clear. Maya Torres, June 15, 2:00 p.m., Pearl Serenity. Valeria's eyes flicked to the screen, then back to Maya's outfit. A smirk tugged at her lips. "I'm sorry, there must be a mistake. Our treatments start at $5,000 0 cents. You're probably looking for a walk-in salon down the street." Her tone was polite but cutting, each word a deliberate jab. Maya's smile didn't waver. "No mistake," she said, her voice steady, like a calm sea before a storm. "I booked this 6 months ago. Pearl Serenity, Tahitian pearls, custom oils. I have the invoice if you need it." She spoke with precision, no trace of doubt, but Valeria's smirk widened. "Custom oils," Valeria repeated, her voice dripping with mockery. "Sweetheart, do you even know what a Tahitian pearl is? Or did you just read that online?" She leaned forward, her manicured nails tapping the desk. The other staff, Sasha, Nora, and Ethan, had gathered nearby, their white uniforms crisp against the marble. Sasha, a petite blonde with a sharp jawline, stifled a laugh, her blue eyes glinting with amusement. "She looks like she just rolled in from South Beach," Sasha whispered to Nora, loud enough for Maya to hear. Nora, younger and softer, giggled nervously, glancing at Maya's tote. Ethan, the only man, shook his head, his lips twitching. "Probably thought this was a free yoga class," he muttered. Maya stood still, her tote resting against her hip. "I'd like to speak to someone who can verify my appointment," she said, her tone polite but firm. "I'm happy to wait." Valeria crossed her arms, her nails catching the light. "Oh, honey, we don't do walk-ins, and we definitely don't do," she gestured at Maya's dress, her nose wrinkling. "This." The word landed like a slap, and Sasha couldn't hold back her laugh anymore. She pulled out her phone, her fingers flying across the screen. "This is too good," she said, starting a TikTok live stream. Her caption flashed, "Beach bum girl crashes elite spa." The viewer count climbed fast, 1,000, 2,000 comments, flooding in with laughing emojis. "Who does she think she is? Get her out." Maya's fingers tightened on her tote, but her face remained calm, a porcelain mask hiding the storm within. "Check the system," she said, her voice low but unyielding. "My name's there." Sasha leaned forward, her phone angled to catch Maya's dress. "No way she's on the list," she said to her viewers, her voice a stage whisper. "Bet she stole someone's email. Happens all the time." Nora hesitated, her eyes darting to Valeria, but she stayed silent. Ethan snorted, flipping through a tablet. Maya Torres? Never heard of her. Probably a fake name. The spa's glass doors swung open and Celeste Monroe strode in, her pink Versace dress clinging to her curves, her platinum hair cascading in waves. Celeste was Miami's darling, an influencer with a cosmetics empire and a reality TV show. She took one look at Maya and froze, her diamond earrings flashing as she tilted her head. "What's going on here?" she demanded, her voice carrying the weight of someone used to being obeyed. Valeria turned, her smile turning syrupy. "Just a little mix-up, Miss Monroe. This guest seems to think she has an appointment." She gestured at Maya, her tone implying Maya was anything but a guest. Celeste's eyes raked over Maya, lingering on the cotton dress and sandals. She laughed, a sharp, cutting sound that echoed off the marble. "You're kidding. Who let this beach bum in? This is Elysian, not a public bathhouse." She stepped closer, her heels clicking like a countdown, and flicked Maya's dress with a manicured nail. "This is an insult to luxury." Sasha's livestream surged. 5,000 viewers now, comments screaming, "Drag her! She's embarrassing!" Maya stood her ground, her posture straight as a blade. "I'm here for my appointment," she said, her voice steady despite the growing crowd. "If you'd just check." "Check what?" Valeria snapped, her patience gone. "You're not on our client list, and you're making a scene." She nodded to Sasha, who stepped forward, her smile thin. "Time to go," Sasha said, her phone still recording. Ethan moved closer, flanking Maya like she was a stray dog. Celeste joined the fray, her voice rising. "Who let this riffraff in?" she barked, loud enough for the water feature to seem silent. "She's ruining my vibe." Her entourage, 2 women in matching Gucci dresses, snapped photos, their giggles slicing deeper than words. Sasha's livestream hit 10,000 viewers, her caption now reading, "Stranger in thrift store clothes crashes Elysian spa." Maya's fingers tightened on her tote, but her face stayed serene. "You're making a mistake," she said softly, almost to herself. Sasha's phone caught it, and her viewers ate it up. "She's delusional," one comment read. "Thinks she's a VIP," another chimed. Valeria laughed outright, a sound like breaking glass. "Try a nail salon next time," she called, as Maya was herded toward the door. The glass doors loomed closer, and Celeste seized her moment. She grabbed a glass of coconut water from a passing tray and flung it at Maya, the liquid splashing across her dress, dripping down her legs. "Go back to the beach," Celeste shouted, and the crowd erupted in cheers. Sasha zoomed in, her livestream soaring to 20,000 viewers. Comments flooded. "Drown the fraud! She deserved it!" Maya paused, wiping a drop from her cheek, her eyes steady but burning with something unspoken. She didn't beg, didn't argue. She stepped through the doors, the Miami heat swallowing her as the glass swung shut. The crowd's laughter echoed, a sound that could break weaker hearts. Within hours, Sasha's livestream went viral. Gossip sites pounced. "Mystery woman in cotton dress crashes elite spa," the Miami Herald blared. Allure dubbed her the delusional dreamer. TikTok exploded with memes. Maya's soaked dress photoshopped onto red carpets captioned, "When you RSVP to a spa but forget the dress code." Her name was unknown, but her shame was global. 4 days after the spa incident, the Miami skyline glittered under a bruised purple dusk, its lights dancing on the water. Off the coast of Key Biscayne, Villa Azure stood like a dream carved from glass and stone. The seaside mansion was a masterpiece, Its infinity pool melted into the Atlantic. White silk drapes fluttered in the ocean breeze, and lanterns cast golden halos across manicured gardens. Tonight, it was the stage for the wedding of the decade, a spectacle whispered about in every corner of the city. Adrian Voss, the 33-year-old CEO of Voss Ventures, was getting married, and the world was desperate to know who his bride could be. Adrian was a legend in Miami's elite circles, tall, with jet black hair and piercing blue eyes that could charm a room or silence it. His venture capital empire, worth $45 billion, 0 cents, had reshaped industries from green energy to artificial intelligence. But he was an enigma, rarely seen in gossip columns, his personal life guarded like a vault. The bride's identity was the biggest mystery of all. Was she a tech heiress, a Hollywood star hiding from the paparazzi, a European aristocrat? Adrian's team had shut down every rumor, citing privacy concerns, a feat only a man of his power could pull off. The guest list was a who's who of wealth and influence, musicians, investors, fashion moguls, all sworn to secrecy. Valeria, Sasha, Nora, and Ethan from Elysian Spa had received invitations, gold-embossed cards delivered by private courier. Valeria, in a sapphire gown that hugged her frame, strutted through the villa's gates, her chin high as she name-dropped to anyone who'd listen. Adrian Voss knows quality, she purred to a tech mogul, implying her presence was proof of her status. Sasha, draped in emerald silk, clutched her phone, already planning TikTok content. "This is my moment," she whispered to Nora, who wore a quieter black dress, her eyes darting nervously. Ethan, in a tailored suit, stuck close, his usual smirk replaced by a flicker of unease, as if he sensed something off in the air. The influencers who'd amplified Maya's humiliation were there too. Harper Quinn, a TikTok star with 3 million followers, swept in wearing a crimson gown that screamed for attention. She'd posted a story that morning, flashing her invitation and captioning it, "The event of the century, and I'm front row." Leo Cruz, a beauty vlogger with a penchant for drama, adjusted his Armani suit, his gold cufflinks glinting as he posed for selfies. "Voss weddings don't happen every day," he told his followers, his voice dripping with self-importance. They all assumed their clout had earned them a seat at the table, blind to the storm brewing. The villa's courtyard was a vision. White roses spilled over trellises, a jazz quartet played softly, and waiters glided with trays of champagne. Guests mingled, their diamonds flashing, their laughter sharp as glass. The ocean whispered in the distance, its rhythm steady against the buzz of anticipation. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "Where's the bride? Is she late? What if there's a scandal?" Harper scanned the scene, her phone ready to capture anything juicy. Sasha, her TikTok now live, panned across the pool, her viewer count climbing. "This is where legends are made," she murmured, oblivious to the shift in the air. Then a hush fell over the courtyard. Heads turned, glasses paused mid-sip. Maya Torres stepped through the gates. She wore a simple white cotton dress, sleeveless and skimming her knees, her curly brown hair loose and framing her face. Her silver sandals were scuffed, catching the lantern light. No jewelry, no bag, just her hands clasped lightly in front of her. She looked like she'd wandered in from a farmer's market, not a billionaire's wedding. Her presence was a spark in a room full of dynamite. Sasha spotted her first, her gasp cutting through the jazz. "No way," she hissed, raising her phone. "The beach bum girl." Her TikTok livestream flared to life, the caption bold. "Beach bum crashes billionaire wedding." Valeria's eyes narrowed, her lips curling into a sneer. "She's got nerve," she muttered, her sapphire gown shimmering as she stepped forward. Nora hesitated, her fingers twisting her necklace, but said nothing. Ethan laughed, loud enough to draw stares. "Is she crashing again? In that?" The influencers pounced. Harper Quinn, her crimson gown swishing, circled Maya like a shark. Did she get lost on her way to a thrift store? She quipped, her phone already out snapping photos. Leo Cruz, his cufflinks glinting, joined in, his voice dripping with scorn. "This is embarrassing," he said, posting a clip to his story. The crowd closed in, their whispers sharpening. "She's a nobody," a music producer muttered. "Probably bribed her way in," a fashion editor sneered. Sasha's live stream surged, 20,000 viewers, then 30. Zero comments flooding. "Kick her out. What a loser." Maya stood in the courtyard, her brown eyes scanning the crowd, her posture straight as a reed. A waiter offered her champagne. She declined with a nod, her smile faint but warm. She didn't flinch, didn't shrink, even as the jeers grew louder. Harper stepped closer, her voice a whip. "You don't belong here," she said, loud enough for the quartet to falter. Leo chimed in, his laugh cruel. "She's already humiliating herself." Valeria pushed through, her heels clicking on the stone path. "This is a private event," she said, her voice slicing through the music. "Leave, or I'll call security." She signaled to Marcus, a burly guard with a buzz cut and an earpiece. He approached, his hand hovering near Maya's arm. "Ma'am, let's go," he said, his tone flat. Maya didn't move. "I'm invited," she said, her voice low but clear, like a bell in the chaos. "Check the list," Valeria scoffed, waving a hand. "You're not on any list." The crowd pressed closer, their phones a wall of lenses capturing Maya's silence, her stillness. Harper's laugh was sharp. "She's delusional," she said, her livestream hitting 40,000 viewers. Leo tossed his hair. "Maybe try a beach party next time." Maya looked at Valeria, her gaze steady, almost gentle. "Ask for Adrian," she said, her eyes locking on Marcus's. "He'll clear this up." The name dropped like a stone, and for a split second, Valeria hesitated, her smirk faltering. Then she laughed, harsh and bright. "Adrian Voss? You're dreaming." She nodded to Marcus, who grabbed Maya's elbow, firm but not rough, and began leading her toward the gates. The crowd followed, their jeers a rising tide. Sasha's live stream soared, 50,000 viewers now, her voice gleeful. "Here we go again! Beach bum gets the boot," Harper called after Maya. "Stick to flip-flops, honey," Leo shouted. "Send her to the cheap seats." Their laughter echoed off the villa's glass walls, a sound that could shatter weaker spirits. Maya walked on, her dress catching the breeze, her face unreadable, her steps measured. The world laughed louder, blind to the power she held. The ocean breeze swept through Villa Azure, carrying the scent of salt and roses as the jazz quartet played on, their notes weaving through the growing tension in the courtyard. The crowd's jeers followed Maya Torres like a shadow, their phones flashing like a swarm of fireflies. Her white cotton dress fluttered as Marcus, the security guard, led her toward the gates, his grip firm on her elbow. Sasha's TikTok livestream surged to 60,000 viewers, her lens trained on Maya's scuffed silver sandals, the caption screaming, "Beach bum girl crashes billionaire wedding. Busted!" Harper Quinn's laughter rang out, her crimson gown a stark contrast to Maya's simplicity. "She thought she could sneak in," Harper taunted, her phone capturing every step. Leo Cruz, his Armani suit gleaming, tossed his head back. "This is why we gatekeep," he called, his voice dripping with disdain. Maya's face remained serene, her brown eyes steady as she moved through the crowd. The lanterns cast soft light on her curly hair, framing her like a quiet rebellion against the glittering chaos. Valeria strode alongside Marcus, her sapphire gown shimmering with every step, her smirk sharp enough to cut glass. "You should have stayed on the beach," she said, loud enough for the crowd to hear. "This is embarrassing for you." The guests hooted, their champagne flutes clinking in approval. A tech billionaire in a velvet blazer muttered, "Who even is she?" A fashion stylist in gold sequins sneered, "Nobody. That's who." Sasha zoomed in, her live stream now at 70,000 viewers. "She's delusional," she told her audience, her voice gleeful. "Thinks she's on the list." Comments poured in, "Kick her out, she's a joke." Nora, trailing behind, clutched her black dress, her eyes flickering with guilt. She opened her mouth, then closed it, swallowed by the crowd's roar. Ethan, his suit slightly rumpled, laughed harshly. "Back to the boardwalk, beach bum," he said, his words a blade aimed at Maya's back. The gates of Villa Azure loomed closer, their wrought iron glinting under the moonlight. But the mob wasn't done. Zoe, a young spa intern with a lanyard swinging like a pendulum, pushed through the crowd, her eyes bright with ambition. "She's probably here to steal a gift bag," she shouted, pointing at Maya's woven tote as if it held a crime. The crowd roared, egged on by Zoe's grin. She grabbed a mojito from a passing tray and flung it at Maya, the lime-scented liquid splashing across her white dress, soaking the fabric. "Take that back to South Beach," Zoe yelled, and the laughter swelled a vicious tide. Maya paused, the mojito dripping down her legs, staining her sandals. She brushed a wet strand of hair from her face, her movements deliberate, her eyes burning with something unspoken. Sasha's livestream zoomed in, capturing the smear on Maya's hem, the intern's taunts now trending as beach bum beatdown. Comments exploded. "She's done! Make her cry!" The crowd fed off it, their phones immortalizing her shame, oblivious to the strength she carried. Valeria stepped closer, her voice a venomous hiss. "This is a private event. Leave, or I'll make sure you're banned from every spa in Miami." She waved a hand, and Marcus tightened his grip, pulling Maya forward. Harper's laugh was a whip. "She's already humiliating herself," she said, her crimson gown swishing as she posted another clip. Leo chimed in, his cufflinks flashing. "No vibe, no invite." The crowd pressed closer, their phones a wall of lenses, their cruelty a wildfire no one dared to stop. Then Zoe struck again, emboldened by the mob. She grabbed a handful of rose petals from a nearby trellis and tossed them at Maya, the pink flakes catching in her hair, dusting her soaked dress. "Go decorate a beach shack," she shouted, and the crowd howled, their laughter echoing off the villa's glass walls. Sasha's live stream hit 80,000 viewers, her lens lingering on Maya's dripping dress, the petals clinging like wounds no one saw bleed. But the assault didn't stop there. Rafael Diaz, a beauty guru with 1 million YouTube subscribers, joined the fray, his silk scarf fluttering like a flag of contempt. His presence commanded attention, bronzed skin, slick back hair, and a voice that carried like a megaphone. "This is why we protect our spaces," he declared, leaning toward Maya, his cologne sharp. "You're a walking mockery of elegance." He flicked a cocktail napkin at her feet, the paper fluttering like a challenge. The crowd roared, Harper and Leo echoing him, chanting, "No class, no pass." Sasha's stream surged to 90,000, her viewers screaming, "Roast her, she's nothing." Maya stepped over the napkin, her spine straight, her dress clinging wetly to her skin. Each jeer landed like a stone, piling higher, but her face remained unreadable, a mask of calm hiding a gathering storm. She looked at Raphael, her brown eyes steady. "I'm invited," she said, her voice low but clear, cutting through the chaos like a blade. "Check the list." Valeria laughed, a sound like shattering crystal. "You're not on any list," she said, signaling Marcus to move faster. "Don't make this worse." Marcus's grip tightened, his face impassive, as he pulled Maya toward the gates. The crowd followed, their phones flashing, their voices a chorus of scorn. Harper tossed her hair, calling, "Maybe try a public pool next time." Leo shouted, "Send her to the cheap seats." Their laughter was a blade, slicing deeper with every step. As they neared the gates, a new voice cut through the din. Celeste Monroe, the influencer who doused Maya at the spa, pushed through the crowd, her pink Versace dress glowing under the lanterns. Her platinum hair swung as she pointed at Maya, her nails like daggers. "She's scamming us all," Celeste shrieked, her voice shrill enough to silence the quartet. "You think you're clever, sneaking in. You're nothing." She grabbed a glass of rosé from a tray and flung it at Maya, the pink liquid splashing her dress, mixing with the mojito's lime. The crowd gasped, then cheered, their phones capturing every drop. Sasha's live stream exploded. 100,000 viewers now, comments screaming, "Drown the fraud, she's finished." Maya paused, wiping a drop from her cheek, her eyes steady but blazing with something fierce, something alive. She didn't beg, didn't argue. She moved like someone who knew the storm would pass. Celeste laughed, triumphant, her entourage snapping photos, their giggles a vicious echo. The mob howled, their cruelty a wildfire that burned unchecked. But one voice broke the tide. Nora, the quiet spa employee, slipped through the crowd, her black dress damp with sweat. She caught Maya's eye, her voice barely audible. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her face pale, her hands trembling. She turned back, swallowed by the crowd. But Maya nodded, a flicker of warmth in her gaze, as if she'd seen something worth saving. Marcus's grip tightened as they reached the gates, the crowd's jeers peaking. "Wedding crasher," someone yelled. "Go home," another taunted. Sasha zoomed in, capturing Maya's soaked dress, the rose petals in her hair, the dignity in her spine. The internet roared. Beach Bum Gate trended worldwide, memes multiplying. Maya in her dripping dress, captioned, "When you crash a wedding but forget the glow-up." Maya stopped, her sandals scraping the stone path. She turned to Marcus, her voice soft but unyielding. "Call Adrian," she said, her brown eyes locking on his. "He knows I'm here." The words hung in the air, a quiet thunder that made Valeria pause, her smirk faltering for a heartbeat. Then she laughed, sharp and cold. "Adrian Voss? You're pathetic." She waved Marcus on, and he pulled Maya forward, the gates looming like a final judgment. Sasha's livestream hit 120,000 viewers, her voice gleeful. "She's done! Beach Bum's out!" Harper posted a clip crowing, "Total embarrassment." Leo's followers liked it by the thousands, his caption smug, "Keeping it classy at the wedding of the year." The crowd erupted in cheers, clinking glasses, their victory sweet. Valeria raised her champagne flute, her smile triumphant. "That's how you handle a nobody," she said, and the quartet resumed, the moment swept away like sand. Maya stepped through the gates, the ocean's whisper the only sound as the crowd's laughter faded. Her dress clung to her, wet and stained, but her head was high, her steps steady. The world mocked her, blind to the empire she commanded, unaware of the fire about to ignite. The gates of Villa Azure clanged shut behind Maya Torres, the sound swallowed by the ocean's restless hum. The crowd's cheers echoed in the courtyard, their champagne flutes clinking as they celebrated her exit. Sasha's TikTok livestream soared past 150,000 viewers, her lens lingering on the empty path where Maya had stood, the caption crowing, "Beach Bum Girl kicked out. Justice served." Harper Quinn posted a triumphant clip, her crimson gown glowing as she captioned it, "We don't do nobodies." Leo Cruz raised his glass, his gold cufflinks flashing. "That's how you keep it elite," he said, his followers flooding his post with likes. Valeria, her sapphire gown catching the lantern light, smirked as she sipped her drink. "She's gone," she said, her voice dripping with satisfaction. "Good riddance." Inside the villa, the grand hall waited, its glass walls reflecting the Miami skyline, its chandeliers casting prisms across marble floors. White orchids spilled from crystal vases, and candles flickered like stars. The guests drifted in, their gowns rustling, their chatter buzzing with the scandal of the beach bum girl. Sasha refreshed her livestream stats, 200,000 views now. Her DMs flooded with brands begging for collabs. Valeria worked the room, whispering to a hedge fund heiress about her knack for spotting fakes. Harper and Leo posed for selfies, their captions smug. Only the best at Voss's wedding. Only Nora stayed quiet, her black dress blending into the shadows, her fingers twisting her necklace as she stared at the doors. The hall dimmed, the candles glowing brighter as the ceremony loomed. Adrian Voss appeared at the altar, his black tuxedo tailored to perfection, his blue eyes electric under the soft light. He stood alone, his presence commanding, a faint smile playing on his lips. The guests leaned forward, breathless. Where was the bride? Whispers spread. Had she canceled? Was there a scandal? Sasha's fingers hovered over her phone, ready to break the news. Then the double doors swung open. Every head turned. Maya Torres walked in. She was no longer the woman in the soaked cotton dress. She wore a wedding gown that stole the breath from the room. Every silk cascaded like a waterfall, its bodice encrusted with pearls and crystals that caught the candlelight and burned. The skirt flowed behind her, a delicate train whispering across the marble. Her curly brown hair was swept up, a single pearl comb gleaming like a crown. She was breathtaking, not just for the gown, but for the power in her step, the fire in her brown eyes. On her arm was Adrian Voss, his hand steady, his gaze locked on her like she was the only truth in the world. The hall was silent, a collective gasp frozen in time. Valeria's champagne flute slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor. Sasha's phone trembled, her live stream still running, now at 300,000 viewers. Harper's jaw dropped, her crimson gown suddenly garish. Leo's cufflinks seemed to choke him, his face pale. Nora's eyes widened, a tear slipping free. The guests, moguls, stars, editors stared, their certainty crumbling like sand. Maya didn't look at them. She walked forward, her arm in Adrian's, her chin high, her grace a blade that cut through their scorn. Adrian stopped at the altar, turning to face the crowd. His voice was low but carried like thunder. "This is Maya Torres," he said. "My fiancée." The word landed like a bomb, shattering the room. "We've been engaged for 2 years, planning this day in secret. Not for fame, but for us. Maya asked me to keep her name out of the spotlight, and I did. Not because she's weak, but because she's stronger than anyone here." He paused, letting the truth sink in. Maya stood beside him, her gown a beacon, her silence louder than any speech. Adrian's eyes hardened, but his tone stayed even. "She's also the founder and CEO of Luminos, the AI wellness platform you've all been using without knowing it." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Luminos was a titan in the tech world, its AI algorithms predicting mental health needs with uncanny precision, powering apps, clinics, and even corporate wellness programs. It had surged from nowhere to a $15 billion 0 cents valuation, its creator a mystery guarded like a state secret. Until now. Adrian's voice grew sharper, a blade unsheathed. Maya built Luminos from nothing. No investors, no connections, just her code, her vision, and a laptop in a Miami studio. She started in a rundown apartment, teaching herself to program after growing up in a slum. Today, Luminos is reshaping how the world cares for itself, and she's taking it public for $20 billion 0 cents. She owns this industry, whether you like it or not. The crowd was a sea of stunned faces. Valeria's knees buckled, her sapphire gown pooling as she gripped a chair. Sasha's livestream surged to 500,000, comments screaming, "She's Luminous's CEO? We had no idea!" Harper's phone slipped, cracking on the marble. Leo muttered, "Impossible," but his voice was hollow. Nora's tearful smile grew. She'd known, somehow, that Maya was more. Adrian's gaze swept the room, pinning the guilty. And Elysion Spa? Maya's been negotiating to acquire it for months. As of yesterday, she's the controlling owner. Valeria gasped, a strangled sound, her face ashen. Sasha's emerald gown seemed to choke her, her hands shaking. Ethan's smirk vanished, his suit suddenly too tight. Sasha's stream hit 700,000, the internet ablaze with Maya Torres reveal. But Adrian wasn't done. His voice dropped, a quiet storm. There's more. The AI that powers Luminos, the algorithm that predicts mental health patterns, was Maya's invention. 2 years ago, I wanted to buy it for Voss Ventures. She refused to sell. Instead, she pitched a partnership, and I saw a mind sharper than any I'd ever met. That's when I fell in love with her. He looked at Maya, his blue eyes softening, a smile breaking through. We built a future together, and today, she chose to step into the light, not for fame, but to face those who tried to break her. The hall was a graveyard of silence. Maya's gown shimmered, her presence a quiet fire that burned away the crowd's arrogance. Sasha's live stream hit 800,000, comments now a tidal wave. She's a genius, they messed with the wrong woman. The guests stared, their world rewritten in a heartbeat. Adrian's voice hardened again. You mocked her, humiliated her, live-streamed her pain. You judged her for her clothes, not her heart, and you were wrong. He nodded to a woman in a gray suit, Elena Ruiz, Maya's chief of staff, who stepped forward with a tablet glowing. Elena, Adrian said. Name them. Elena's voice was ice. Valeria Cole, Sasha Hart, Harper Quinn, Leo Cruz, for orchestrating and amplifying Maya's humiliation at Elysian Spa and here. You're done. Guards moved swiftly, silent as shadows. Valeria screamed, "This is a mistake!" as Marcus took her arm, leading her out. Her sapphire gown caught on a table, tearing at the seam. She stumbled, her mascara streaking, her voice cracking. "I built Elysian," she cried, but the guards were relentless. Outside, paparazzi swarmed, their flashes blinding, capturing her torn hem trailing in the dust. A headline flashed on a reporter's phone. Elysian spa manager fired by mystery bride. Sasha followed, sobbing, her emerald silk trailing like defeat. She tried to stop streaming, but a guard confiscated her phone, her 900,000 viewers watching her fall. Harper's protests. "I'm Harper Quinn," faded as she was escorted past the roses, her crimson gown catching on thorns, ripping audibly. Leo stammered, "I didn't know." But the guards were deaf, marching him to the gates. Their empires crumbled with every step. Followers unfollowed, brand deals canceled, their names now punchlines. Celeste Monroe's exit was a spectacle. Her pink Versace dress snagged on the gates, tearing as she wailed, "You can't do this." Paparazzi shouted, "Smile, Celeste," their flashes merciless. Her cosmetics empire's shares tanked, news of her disgrace spreading faster than Sasha's livestream. Guests whispered, "She threw rose at Maya, serves her right." Hashtag Celeste Falls trended, her legacy reduced to memes. The hall was silent, the guilty gone, their absence a weight. Maya stood beside Adrian, her gown a lighthouse in the storm, her silence a power no one could touch. The crowd waited, breathless, for what came next, unaware that Maya's true strength was only beginning to unfold. The grand hall of Villa Azure was a sea of silence, the air heavy with the weight of what had just unfolded. The candles flickered, casting golden light across the marble floors, their glow dancing on Maya Torres's ivory gown. Pearls and crystals shimmered like captured stars, but it was her presence that held the room. Steady, radiant, unbreakable. Adrian Voss stood beside her, his hand resting lightly on hers, his blue eyes fierce with pride. The guests, moguls, stars, and tastemakers sat frozen, their earlier scorn replaced by awe, their phones lowered, their whispers stilled. The absence of Valeria, Sasha, Harper, Leo, and Celeste was a void, their disgrace a lesson etched in the silence. Maya stepped forward, her gown whispering across the floor. Her brown eyes swept the hall, calm but unyielding, like a tide that could reshape shores. She spoke, her voice soft but unshakable, each word landing like a pebble in still water. "This isn't about revenge," she said, the hall hanging on her breath. "It's about respect. I built Luminos to heal, to help people understand their hearts and minds, not to divide them. But I've seen how this world, tech, wellness, luxury, chews up anyone who doesn't fit its mold. That stops now." She paused, her gaze resting briefly on Nora, who stood alone near the back, her black dress damp with tears. "Elysian Spa will merge with Luminos," Maya continued, her voice steady as dawn. "No more gatekeeping, no more cruelty. We'll create wellness experiences for everyone, not just the ones you deem worthy. Our AI will guide treatments, making them accessible, personal, and real. This industry will serve people, not egos." The crowd was silent, some nodding, others too stunned to move. A tech founder in a linen suit scribbled notes, his eyes wide. A fashion editor in emerald chiffon clutched her purse, her face pale. Maya's resolve was iron, but her gaze softened, a warmth breaking through. "To those who judged me," she said, "learn from this. Kindness costs nothing, but cruelty has a price." She turned to Nora, who flinched under the weight of her attention. "Nora," Maya said, her voice warm like sunlight after a storm, "you apologized to me out there. That mattered." Nora's breath caught, her tears spilling freely. Maya stepped closer, her gown shimmering. "Luminos is launching a new wellness line, affordable, AI-driven treatments for everyone. I want you to lead it as creative director. You saw me when no one else did." Nora's eyes widened, her hands trembling. "Me?" she whispered, her voice breaking. Maya nodded, pulling a small velvet box from a fold in her gown. She opened it, revealing a pearl necklace, its luster soft but fierce, like the woman who offered it. "A new start," Maya said, placing it in Nora's hands. Nora choked back a sob, clutching the necklace, her tearful smile a beacon in the dim hall. Maya turned back to Adrian, her hand finding his, their connection a quiet fire. The officiant, a silver-hailed woman named Sister Amara, stepped forward, her robes rustling like waves. The ceremony began, the ocean's hum a gentle backdrop. Maya and Adrian faced each other under a canopy of roses, their vows exchanged in the glow of Miami's twilight. Maya promised to stand by Adrian, her voice steady, a vow rooted in strength. Adrian vowed to be her partner, his eyes never leaving hers, his words a shield forged in love. Their kiss was gentle, a seal of equals, the crowd erupting in applause that shook the glass walls. The reception unfolded in the villa's gardens, lanterns swaying in the breeze, the jazz quartet now joined by a steel drum, blending Miami's pulse with the night's magic. Maya and Adrian danced, her gown shimmering like moonlight, his hand steady on her back. The guests mingled, their earlier shock replaced by reverence. A venture capitalist toasted Maya's vision, his glass raised high. A pop star in a silver jumpsuit whispered to her agent, "Get me a meeting with Luminos." The world was rewriting itself around Maya's star. Elena Ruiz, Maya's chief of staff, approached, later, her gray suit crisp, her tablet dark. "It's done," she said, her voice low. "Elysian's old staff are out, the merger's announced, the world's calling you a revolutionary." Maya leaned into Adrian, her smile soft but fierce. "Good," she said. "Let's keep it that way." As the night deepened, Maya found Nora by the infinity pool, the ocean stretching dark and endless beyond. Nora's black dress was damp with tears, the pearl necklace gleaming at her throat. I didn't deserve this, Nora said, her voice thick. Maya touched her arm, her touch warm. You don't need to know someone's name to be kind, she said. You chose to see me. That's enough. She paused, then added, Luminos needs people who believe in change. I think that... Nora nodded, her breath catching, her eyes bright with purpose. The party swirled on. Laughter, music, the clink of glasses. But Maya and Adrian slipped away, standing alone by the villa's edge. The Miami skyline sparkled in the distance, a constellation of ambition and dreams. Adrian brushed a curl from Maya's face, his voice low. You changed the game tonight, he said, his blue eyes catching the stars. Maya smiled, her brown eyes warm, alive. We did, she said, her voice a promise. Together. They stood there, hand in hand, the ocean whispering their future. They weren't just husband and wife. They were a force, rewriting an industry, a world with every step. Maya Torres hadn't needed to shout her worth. She'd walked through fire and emerged as light, her heart a compass for a new era. The night stretched on, the lanterns glowing, the music weaving through the air. Villa Azure stood as a testament to a love that defied judgment, a vision that broke barriers, and a woman who turned shame into strength. Maya and Adrian moved back to the dance floor, their steps sure, their laughter soft. The world watched, not with scorn, but with wonder, ready to follow where they led.